Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today again. Jason Artley will not be here today. He will be here next week and moving forward. I will be joined today by Matt Lynn. And when he gets in here, I'll let him talk a little bit about himself. I won't talk about him. But for those of us that weren't in here last week, a little bit of background of myself. My name is Michael Chave. I'm an AEC technical specialist here at ATG USA. Primary background is in structural design. I'm a Bluebeam certified instructor, as well as a couple of other Bluebeam certified items, which we'll go over a little later on. But again, welcome everybody to Morning Coffee Review. I'm drinking some coffee, and actually, we have 3 minutes before we start. I'm gonna go make another cup. Everyone, please grab some coffee or tea. Doesn't matter which one you're drinking. And we have a chat here. Let's see. Morning. Thanks, John. John, were you here last week? Actually, I'm gonna grab some coffee. You can answer that. And I will see it when I come back real quick. Morning, everyone. In these pressing times, I will use my Nespresso. Usually I do a French press or a pour over. Matt, I need to add you as a panelist. There you go. Matt is now a panelist. Hey, Matt.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Connection. Good. All right. We're talking about coffee, right?
Yeah, coffee. So I say usually when I'm in a pinch like I am right now, running from a meeting to this, I'll just use my Nespresso. But are you a coffee drinker, Matt?
I am not. I drink Amino Energy, which is my cold, sweet, sugary version of coffee.
I remember.
I have a nice vessel here. One of our customers actually sent me this nice drinking vessel, so this sits by me all day.
And are you drinking that all day?
No, no. I would be way too giggity. I have a scoop in the morning, and then if I get tired in the afternoon, I'll have one more scoop. But either one or two throughout the day.
And that amino, how much caffeine's in it? I think it was like 100, is it, per scoop? I guess they equate it to.
I think it's about the same as a cup of coffee, but I'm not sure. I've never been a coffee drinker, so I'm not quite sure.
I think coffee has around 80 milligrams to 100 milligrams generally of caffeine.
Cool. So what do you have this morning? Did you already go through that? Did I miss it?
Yeah. Sorry, what'd you ask?
So what'd you have this morning?
Oh, I just had an espresso this morning, was in a pinch. Mine just got done, so I'm gonna go grab it. Give it a couple minutes while people roll in here. Thanks, Matt, for jumping in and helping out. I'll let you introduce yourself first, Matt.
Sure. All right, good morning, everyone. Michael's running to get his coffee. My name is Matt Lynn. I am not one of the Bluebeam experts here, but Michael definitely is, and we have a couple more, and they weren't able to jump in. So today I'm gonna help out and just kind of monitor the chat and feed some questions to Michael and just keep the conversation going. Again, this is very interactive with both you, the participants, and us. The topics are driven by what you guys want to hear about and talk about. So again, I'll monitor the chat, and let's see, I think there's a raise hand function.
There is.
Let's see, I have my chat open, Michael. What else do I need to have open?
I think that's it. We will allow you to talk if you'd like. You can use the raise hand function, and we'd allow you to talk as we kind of go through. This is an open platform to ask any questions related to Bluebeam Review. as Matt was giving a little bit of his background, and for those of us that are new here, just joining today, this is an ongoing series, so feel free to jump in next week too to get all your questions answered. Even if they're not pertaining to Bluebeam Review and you just want to hop in and say hi in the morning, feel free to. We're here to talk. We will be opening the sessions up a little early than it actually starts, so then we can hang out, chat, more things about coffee or just your day. And then as we kind of go along more towards the time from whatever time zone you reside in, where the webinar is supposed to be hosted, we'll be talking more about review. Matt's going to be helping monitor the chat, and if we get stuck anywhere and we have nothing to talk about, I'll ask Matt questions. I'm trying to fix my light because it looks like it's just glaring on me. 1 second.
Okay, we have a few items in the chat. It says, I got ATG's email recently, was interested in checking out the BB session. So Michael can definitely dig into the sessions today.
Okay, so we talked about a Bluebeam sessions before. For those of us that don't know what Bluebeam review sessions are, well, I guess it's called studio sessions, sorry. Studio sessions is live collaboration on 2D or 3D PDFs. And see, this is what it is. It's my second monitor. I guess I'll have to figure out. My lighting's just going to be a little weird, guys. You're all just going to see me super bright.
You look okay here, Mike.
Okay. So we'll go over a little bit about it. And good morning to you, David, as well. Chad, good morning.
We do have some questions popping in too. I'll monitor both. So
okay. So let's start off with questions today before we kind of head into just some arbitrary stuff. We'll have Matt read them out and we'll talk about them.
Okay, first question. Do you recommend using Bluebeam add-in when printing from Revit a PDF batch copy? Can you please give some tips and tricks about printing PDF from Revit, keeping bookmarks?
Great. So let's open Revit. Once it primes up, we will talk a little bit about it. My Revit actually 2021 doesn't have the add-in. For those of us that have issues with your add-in not showing up, the best route, if it isn't displaying in your selectable items from Bluebeam Review, the best route is to uninstall the software that you're trying to add it into and then reinstalling it. I haven't done that yet for 2021 because I haven't needed to access or create, let's say, a 3D PDF. Add-ins are great for batch printing. You also have the ability for those of us that are in the architectural realm that use rooms, exporting your rooms out as spaces, which help with punch list walkthroughs, so you can itemize punch lists through specific spaces. And also you have the ability to create a 3D PDF. And I'll show you that in a second. Let's see what else we have.
Looks like we have a question, and I don't know if it just got cut off. It says, I have a question about VU. Maybe they're going to come back with the rest of that question. Okay. Morning, having issues creating 3D PDFs from Revit, the pipe fitting valves disappear. Is there a setting that I need to adjust?
That is a great question. I would defer that over to our support. I don't know why there would be an issue of disappearing elements unless you're not having them also selected in the 3D model tree. So for those of us that have never seen a 3D PDF, this is something you can create if you have Bluebeam Review CAD or Extreme, which allows you to have the plugin capabilities to your software, right? So for instance, Revit is a design software that has the plugin capabilities, and you can create a 3D PDF from that. So let me open up a 3D PDF for those of us that have never seen a 3D PDF before. I'll go to my documents here, and I have a 3D PDF here. It's going to take a second to load. The reason why it takes a second to load is it's all of the information from the Revit model will be populated as well. So as it loads, and then for those of us that also have a question of like, hey, does this work on your iPad? And unfortunately, 3D PDFs do not, but it does work if you're using it just on, let's say, something Windows-based. And as I'm going through here, I can spin around my 3D PDF. You have this thing down here at the bottom where you usually have your markups list. It's called the 3D model tree. And this actually pulls all of the data from your Revit model into this modeled column list, just like the markups list that you have for all of your markups that have been placed. So as you go along through here, you can start clicking on specific elements. It'll actually highlight them too in your model, so you can be notified of where it is location-wise. The great thing about this too is as you start clicking through things, it actually reads the data there and hides things so you can visually see something better, just like the floor here. You can even have the crop section if you wanted to, so you can use it just like the section box in Revit. So as you go through here, you can say, hey, let me pull and push this so I can see the inside of this. And again, it is different when you're trying to navigate through it, by the way. So as I'm scrolling around the model, it's not the same as Revit. So if you're transitioning between the two of them, be aware they're not the same orbiting functions.
Michael, I noticed that on the bottom, that bar, it looked like the Revit parameters. Is that exactly what it is?
Correct. Yep. All the information for it. So as I scroll along to the right, I can even see like the length, the volume of it, the material that it is. And you can use this list and sort out columns if you wanted to, if you didn't want the data from it. You can also create a summary to a CSV file. You can filter these out saying, hey, I only want to see specific ones from, I don't know, we won't do element ID. Maybe we just want to see the 6-inch foundation ones, right? So as typical fashion, when something's filtered out in Bluebeam Review, even markups, everything else gets grayed out. Everything that isn't filtered will be its prominent color.
Okay. All right, Edward Lee. Edward, go ahead and try and unmuting yourself and let's see if you can talk. I believe you have the ability.
I have to unmute him.
It is. Yeah.
There
okay.
we go. I unmuted him.
Hey, so we're really excited to try the studio function of Bluebeam for our enterprise, and I was just wondering if there's a way to deploy View for non-review users in the enterprise right away without having to go through the trial, so they're not prompted to renew or purchase the review. We can just have our tech team install View for them to use for meeting participation with project managers in the facilities group.
Okay, so Edward, you're saying you have some licenses of review, you have some PMs that are going to use the reader mode, right? The view mode.
Well, the PMs all have review extreme, but we want to collaborate with our end users and our associates in the enterprise with our drawings and everything. So it'd be nice if they had view as well to participate in the studio sessions.
Okay, so they'll receive an invite if you invite them via an email versus sending them the ID. It'll prompt them to download a free trial. And after that 30 days, it turns into this, which is view mode, right? And how do they interact? They'll still have the studio over here on the left-hand side that they need to gain access to. And they'll just need to log in like I just did, right? So they need to create a Bluebeam ID is what it's called. And then from there, they can sign in. And again, right, I'm acting as if I don't have a license because I am the coordinating party, right?
Sure. I'm just wondering if there's a way to just skip the trial and just have it install in the view mode right away without having to prompt them to do you want to purchase a new license or review, because that'd just be a mess for the 5,000 associates in the company.
Yeah, let me write that down. I know there's a way to deploy an actual license of review as view mode only.
Okay, that's what I'm curious if the free version of that is.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Skip the trial and just do that.
That makes sense. Okay. I will write this down and I will write your name down and get your email, Edward, and we will coordinate through there for that.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. Thanks for the question, Edward.
Okay, we had another one pop in. Can 3D PDFs be developed on civil projects too? I'm not familiar with Revit to know if it has civil applications.
So this is actually a challenge I've tried taking on. And who was that? David? Okay, so
This is
David,
David, yes.
yeah, so we will have to wait till Jason gets on, our civil guy. I can actually email him and message him via chat just to see if we've done it before, because you're thinking of like corridors or any of those items. I haven't tried it, and that's something that we could definitely try on our end to see how that function works from a civil side.
Okay, great questions. Otis asked about how to contact support, and I typed it in, and then it kind of disappeared from my screen. I just want to make sure you did get that. Anyone who does need to contact the ATG support, it is support@atgusa.com.
And I believe Carrie is here, so if she can throw it in.
I typed it in there. I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure they got it too.
Just make sure when you type it in, Matt, you it says like to all panelists, or is it to all attendees with it?
So this one was in the question and answer, not the chat.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
All right, we have another question. I was going to ask the same question for Jason. In the past, we have had to export a Navisworks file, then convert using the plugin that way. Since we were talking about 3D PDFs, that would be an excellent topic to cover since the CAD version shows up in Civil 3D on the ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
So do
It
we want to kind
does.
of add this to the topic when Jason's back with us next week?
Yeah, we're gonna add that to a running topic for when Jason's here. Jason's civil based. I'm more AEC based, and hopefully he can shed some light on how a 3D PDF could work in civil.
Yeah, great questions. And Jason will be back next week and then for the next 6 or 7 weeks or whatever. So.
Whatever the running time is of the series.
Right. Okay, what's going on with Windows and Review with default PDF viewer? It seems every update we have to rerun the default app, and it's not available in the list of available programs.
Okay, so you're saying making Review as your default. So for those abilities, you can always go to Administrator. Let me run this. And you can see whatever plugins you have for there. But if we're trying to make our default, we can always go to Preferences and go to Advanced. I think it's under Admin, yeah. So then from here, you can go and open default programs. It's a little bit quicker, and it'll show you your default programs from here. Or for all of us that do know, you can always go to your search for Windows 10 and search for your default viewers. But then you go choose default apps by file type. And then from here, as my Windows loads, you will then go to .pdf extension, right? So on your left-hand side here, does this work like, it doesn't, great. So you'll scroll all the way down so you get to the P's, and then you'll change it to Review. Now, if there's a backend issue where it's not always as default, that might be a more of an IT end from your Windows program. But again, if there's anything that is not acting normal, we do have support here at ATG. So if you would like, Matt can post the support, or actually it was already posted, so it's support at ATG USA, so we can take a more deeper dive look under the hood of what's happening.
Yep. Okay, another question from Ricardo Montoya. Hey, Ricardo, we actually worked together on previous projects. I'm glad you're able to join our session. Are there any good expanded tool chest templates for structural engineers and architects? Are templates available for purchase?
Are we talking about custom tool sets?
Yes.
Great. So let me go over to here. Trying to think. So I didn't, Jason said I should have thumbnailed these. So you can thumbnail, by the way, over here when you add favorites. So let me go in here. We added that last time. in here. Actually, you know what? I have it thumbnailed over here. And then we can send you the extensions that are from out of the box. Move all this around. So let me go from here to here. I'll put this in the chat too as we show it to everybody. These are the ones that are pre-created. We here at ATG can also take the time, if you have custom tool sets that you want created, to create them for you. Or we can train you on how to create them as well. So from here, you can also see my URL extension here. I also put it in the chat. As you start going down, you can see there's already some created tool sets that you are allowed to download for free from Bluebeam Review's website. Again, there's mechanical, there's plumbing, there's electrical, there's interior and space. Architectural is one that you said. There isn't really one laid out for structural. If there's any structural specific ones that you would like us to create, we can create them for you as well. Or again, we can help teach you on how these work. For those of us that didn't know, you can export your tool sets out. So if you just go to the gear symbol, you can export, and they save out as .btx files. They can be shared with you. You can email them. All you have to do is double click them and they populate into here, into your tools chest. And if not, then you have to go to your drop down, manage tools, and import them from here. Be aware, profiles play an important role in what tool sets display from your tool chest. For those of us that didn't know, Bluebeam Review works off a thing called profile. That's what controls your user interface. I talked a little bit about it last time, but if you go up to review at the top here, go to profiles, and these are your profiles from out of the box. It's actually these top three. From here, again, controls the way the UI looks, where your tool menu, toolbars are, your panel access is. It also plays into effect with your custom columns in your markups list, and also what's displaying here for your tool sets. I can see a bunch of questions coming in already, so
yeah. So looks like Kyle Davis has jumped in and started answering them via text for some of these. That's more the tech support stuff. So we have another question here, which is kind of related to what you were just talking about, Michael. We have been developing our own tool sets, but want to have a single location to share these tool sets on the network. Is this possible, and how?
Yes, so you're just going to change everyone's default. So manage tool sets from here, you can import them. The second question is, do you want them to be updated and then these to be updated? Would be my second question, kind of asking about how these would work on your network. When they're not defaulted to the default location for them, and I forget the default location. It's not populating here. Modify. Yeah, I'll have to look where the default location is for your tool sets. But that's where they live natively. When they're not there for your import for the default location, you'll have to just re-add them to individual areas, but they maintain a file path. So short answer, yes, you can have them on a server and maintained on that server. They maintain their file path. You decide of what that file path is going to be. For those of us that have been in the design environment, relative path versus non-relative path, right? Is it going to find the actual folder name or the file name itself if it's moved and dumped into another folder?
Okay. So we have another question. Is there a profile that is the old Bluebeam 2018 layout for download? So it looks like someone prefers the old user interface. Is there a way to get that back?
Legacy mode. There is no legacy for review to go backwards, right? So for those of us that went from review 17 to 18, you saw a huge UI change, especially those of us folks listening in here that are still on 17 and below. Bluebeam Review has a complete different UI from 18 and above. It's the software update. So if you're going to be going forward from 17 and above, you're working with this UI. Not just the UI, there's a lot of back-end changes and performance enhancements. which I suggest everyone upgrading. And we do have training on how the new UI looks.
Okay, so here's a follow-up question based on your response about the tool sets being located on the server. They want them to be only editable from one user and then locked for everyone else. So maybe like a BIM manager type role, you know, having all the control and then locking it down for everyone else.
That would probably have to be on the Windows end, right? When you do create a custom tool set that's out of it, it is locked automatically for you to not update it. But again, the user still has the ability to unlock it. So from a standpoint of how would they lock it, it could be more of a Windows-based program. But I'll definitely take a look into it to see if there's any managerial aspects that can provide more further locking for it. So I'll write that down.
Okay. All right, next question. Does review in viewer mode still enable the Bluebeam PDF printer, or does that still pull a review license?
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the writer. So Bluebeam Review, even in view mode, still gives you the ability to have the writer, right? So if you go here and you go File, if you don't like kind of full circle here, if you don't like going through the add-ins and creating a 3D PDF from here, right? Or creating PDFs from here, you just have the viewer. You still have the ability to do your writer. So if I just open a new project here, actually, let me just do a new project. You will still have the ability to see the writer. So you'll have the Bluebeam writer, and you can go in and plot from your Bluebeam as well. So if I go File and Print, right, you'll still have your Bluebeam PDF writer.
Okay, another question. If you have tool sets on a server, how does that work if you're working on a laptop that is not connected to the network?
Great question. I don't know if it's going to default and cache just in your area, locally cache it, right? So I will have to get back to you on that because I actually don't know the answer to that. You stumped me on that one. Who was that?
Let's see, that was, hang on, David Cutler.
All right. Cutler coming in with the hard questions because I think he asked another one earlier. David, are you going to be here next week? If you want to shoot that in the chat, because we'll talk about it next week. You aim to be, okay. I'll have the answer for you next week, and if you're not there, I'll email you.
All right, thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Matt.
I think we have reached the end. Any more questions? These are good questions. Otherwise, you know, we started at the very beginning with sessions. Would now be a good time to just kind of give a high-level overview of sessions?
Yeah, we'll start with sessions again. Again, Studio is free with any version of Review. That'd be Standard, CAD, or Extreme. And it's on your panel access bar. For those of us that are in the Legacy, which would be 17 and below, I don't recall exactly where it is. But in order for you to log into Studio, you have to have a Bluebeam ID. So you're going to create one. And I always recommend picking something for your name. So as you go through here, sign in, right? You'll click on the little studio. And if you don't see it again on your panel access because you're in a different profile or maybe you've hit it, you can always right click on a panel area and say show, and then you'll see studio. For all of us that loves hotkeys, you can just hit Alt+C. Again, then when you go into here, you're going to sign in. If you haven't created a Bluebeam ID, you need to create one. I always recommend, again, Bluebeam display name professional, because when you print out reports from a studio session, you will see the display name next to whatever the comment or markup that was listed. This also falls under the markups list as well. Great. So then from there, you're going to sign in. And there's two parts to Studio. There's Studio Sessions and studio projects. Now, studio sessions is a collaboration on 2D or 3D PDFs. And then studio projects is more of like a storage FTP site where you can store unlimited amount of items for basically any file type. They could be Excel files, they could be PDFs, they could be a DWG, it can be a .rvt. This isn't you. So the caveat would be for a .rvt is it's not for central models. It's just for no workshare enabled, right? So be aware of that. For workshare enabled, that's what BIM 360 is for. But I'll go to this file share here. Again, unlimited storage for any file type. You can invite project partners. If they don't have a license of review, though, be aware they will need to download. And that's something I'm going to get back to Ed about is can we just default to the view mode? But again, you can still have access to this and invite project partners. These are great for dashboards, which I'll show off in a second as well. And then we'll go into sessions. But again, you can store RVT files in here. You can share a link. So if you wanted to share a link out to project partners to that specific file, it doesn't work for folders. It only works for the file itself. You can do that as well. And the way this file locks is it's a check-in, check-out basis. So you have to check it out to work on it and then check it back in once you're done. And then again, we'll go to dashboards here. So we'll show off a little dashboard. Actually, let's go to the ATG dashboard. Matt knows this one, right?
Yeah, we have a few questions. We want to hit those and then maybe come back to the dashboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good looking out.
Michael did follow up to another participant's question, and they said he took a screenshot of a 2016 layout and then relayed out the review in 2019 profile to match the old icon locations. So the icons match, however, the menus do not. So thanks, Michael, for that follow-up. And then we have another question from Drew. Is there any way to unlock marks made by other users on sessions? We would like to have the ability of others to change the color status of marks by another user. So if I make a mark, Michael, can you go change the status?
You can change statuses. Are we talking about in a session?
Yes, it says in sessions, yep.
Yeah, so in a session, you can change statuses, yes.
Okay, and so anyone can do it regardless of who creates it?
Yeah, because statuses are just running items. So when I'm in here and I wanted to change a status in a session, let's just go to this one. I don't think anyone made a yeah, so someone made a comment here. I believe Jason did. But you always have the ability to go into here and my statuses aren't showing. Status. I could go in and say, hey, here's this call out, right? But I accepted it. And there we go. It changes the status for it.
Okay, great. Does dashboard hyperlinks work with Bluebeam Studio Project?
Yes. So we'll get to the dashboard now. We have one internally that we use for just things that we're storing in and trying to grab information from. So here's a home page of what a dashboard would look like. And you can use this for many things, right? We have it here at ATG personally for our use for internally to grab files that we have and maybe some folder structures or anything like that, training items or any item that we wanted to gain access to and everyone can have access to it at any time in a more digestible manner, right? Digital dashboards create a more visual, pleasing navigation through your files than File Explorer does. And this could be for actually working on a project, right? Maybe you have RFIs, submittals. We can go and look at another one for that if that kind of piques people's interest that actually has those items. But down here, you have the ability to go through and use clickable links, right? So actions, there is an actual white paper that I created on how to create a digital dashboard. We also offer training on it as well. For those of us that are looking for it, it is under one of my published works under LinkedIn. So if you want to go to my LinkedIn, just type in my name, you'll find it there. You can go and then I'll link you to our website that has the dashboard as well, and you can get access to it. But yes, they're clickable links. So if I wanted to go through, we don't have everything filled out. We have specifically architectural items. I can click it. We can see my index finger changes here. And then it's going to bring us to specific things that we need to go to, like data sets, right? And it's going to open up my data set here. So you can actually link to items that are in your studio project. So this can be your one-stop shop for all of your information. Now, again, this could be for not just items for internal use, but let's say you wanted to actually have it for a larger project, right? Maybe you're trying to coordinate with the owners on a project. I'm going to open this dashboard up here. You can have these little flyouts too. I'm going to go home and look at drawings. Maybe I want to look at the architectural drawings and the elevations for the architectural drawings. Oh, great. Here's the interior set. Now let me open this document and start looking at what's in there, right? So it's just easier, more visual, pleasing. And again, for those of us that didn't know, Review also has a URL in it. So if I go to the weather here, boom, brings me to the weather. But again, more visually digestible manner than having to go through and go to File Explorer and share these files. They can just be all stored in a studio project.
This has been especially great since the pandemic because, if we're all in the office together, we all have folders, and it's basically a folder structure on the server. And now that, a huge majority of the states in the world actually is working from home now, it's you can set up a virtual server online and you don't have to dial in with a VPN or anything. So it's all cloud hosted.
Yep.
All right, we got some other questions coming in. Is both Bluebeam Studio Sessions and Bluebeam Studio projects available as part of Bluebeam Review? What is the space size limitation for studio projects?
So studio projects is unlimited, so have at it. It is included with any version of Review. Again, it doesn't matter which version, CAD, standard, or extreme.
Okay, I have just created a dashboard from some trustee members at my church to use some shared files on a Google Drive server. Is there a reason the button function would not work when the PDF opens in a web tab? I had to go back and switch everything into the hyperlink function.
I'd have to see. It sounds so it opened up in a web tab URL. Well, the question would be, did the hyperlink break, right? So is it linking to somewhere on your server? They don't have access to your server. That's why it's better to just have everything natively in a project, because then you're linking to that project location. Versus
Chad, did you want us to unmute you, Chad? Maybe have a quick conversation, have that cleared up?
Yeah.
That would be great. Okay, Chad, can you do that, Michael?
Yeah. Chad. Let's see, okay. Can't say his last name. There you go, Chad.
How about now?
There, yep, we hear you.
All right, so I understand how the dashboard works for the most part, and if it's saved on my file or in a server, but I kept them all in Google Drive. If I was going to open it on my own Bluebeam, I could make the links work to there. But if for everyone where the files live in Google Drive, you're going to open up a PDF, it opens up in their free viewer in a web tab. Everything works for hyperlinks, but not when you use the button edit action function. Well, if I would use, obviously you have to have extreme. So if I use the button function, nothing works when it opens up in the free viewer online. But if you use the hyperlink function, it works.
Because what you're doing when you're creating it, right? You're creating your text or whatever it is that's going to be your clickable action, right?
I made an actual button with the Forms tab, opened up the Properties tab, went down to the bottom where the add action and made them all work. Everything will work fine. It is a hyperlink, yes, but I have to not use that in the Forms tab of Properties. I had to actually use the hyperlink function.
Yes, and that is the only function you would use to get a link like a URL, correct?
But I mean, that does work in Form. Then you can't make the buttons work. You have to actually overlay a hyperlink over the button then.
So after you've created your button and to make it clickable, right? Like an index finger, you have to flatten the markup.
And I did that as well.
Okay.
And I made sure the buttons weren't flattening. No matter what I did, buttons wouldn't work after you opened it up where you saved it online. Because I tried to let the...
Because you're creating this button, right? That,
yep.
Okay.
Yep. And now if you open your Properties tab, I use the edit action from there.
Okay, and the button is really only recommended when you're using like some kind of JavaScripting, like a dropdown.
Okay.
The recommended way is creating, these are texts. So usually what you do is you create a text over it. So
Sure.
this is just a text markup, and that is the action. And then when it's flattened, you get the index.
Okay.
The only time you want to use a button is for like a drop down, because then you can code, right, with the JavaScripting in it, how a drop down would work.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chad. Okay, Kyle Davis, thank you for jumping in. He has provided some answers. By the way, Kyle Davis is a key member of our support team. This guy knows everything. So Kyle, thanks for pitching in.
Thanks, Kyle, for your help.
Yeah. We have another question. Can you create a dashboard after you upload sheets to Bluebeam Studio Project, or does it have to be done before uploading?
It's actually, I wouldn't say always done after, but you should add your documents, because then you're going to link to them in the project, right? So in order for them to be linked to an area, they need to be already uploaded anyways to the project, right? So when you go through and you're getting ready to create a link to those, I'll just create one now. When I edit my action, and this is detailed again in the dashboard creation white paper, but when it says open, and you're going to get ready to, and I removed it. Hold on 1 second here. Preferences, there we go. You'll have the ability to go and locate your studio project that it's in. So if you have any of your projects, you need to locate the file that it's to, and then you can click on whatever it's supposed to open to. And again, it's better not to open the file. You should default to opening a folder, because if those files change, right, namings change or something updates, the link may be broken. So it's better to open to a folder. That way, then the person can then select on the file that it's supposed to be opening.
Okay, next question. Does sessions and projects have a special data security certification? Would HIPAA for healthcare and other sensitive data sets be safe on Bluebeam servers?
I do not know the security behind what the servers are based. We could definitely provide you what Bluebeam has on their website for what they're using for their certification on their servers. Let's see. Studio. Is there any other questions as I go through this, Matt?
Okay, no, it looks like we're all caught up.
Okay.
So Michael, what are some of your favorite things? I always like the punch list. When I was, going through making my own punch list, I always thought that was really cool. I could go through and make little marks, and they had their own little buttons, and then it can automatically create the actual list. You want to show a quick example of how you could do a quick punch list? And again, if other questions come in, please have them come in. We're just trying to fill the void here.
Yeah, and I'll actually do a secondary one. So as we were talking about doing the add-in and what's the great part about the add-ins, why would I use this add-in versus going to file print, right? There's some settings that you have the ability to go through and create. So when you create or export, you can export rooms as spaces. Now, this is great for punch walkthroughs if you're trying to figure out on a room by room basis, what are your issues? This could also help out for a quantity takeoff list, right? How many items are in this room? Like how many, we'll just say for instance, electrical, how many outlets are in this room? And what type of outlets if you're creating your punch list walkthrough markups accordingly for those. So again, you can always go through here and say your settings and you'll say export rooms to spaces. This is also where you create your 3D PDF as well. Let's go in and open up a drawing that has spaces already in it.
So Michael, what's the benefit of spaces over just leaving it as rooms?
Well, rooms will just, if you just export it out, that data won't come with it. Yeah. So if I were to just export this out without any of the rooms in it, I would have to go in and create my own spaces, which isn't hard in and of itself, but you've already taken the time to do it. Why redo it, right? So here's spaces, and these are all of these spaces that exported out with it. Yes, I know it doesn't come color coordinated, but you can right click and you can change the properties for whatever color you want to as well, right? And you can start making it look a little bit more digestible. But what happens is,
so if I could interject real quick, because spaces is a review term.
oh yeah, sorry, did I confuse
so
you?
in my mind, and some of you may have thought the same thing, I was thinking a Revit space, and that's why I was asking the question, what would be the benefit? So it's going from a Revit room to a Bluebeam review space.
Correct.
As opposed to a Revit space, which is
correct.
Entirely different. Okay.
Yep. And then when you go to like quantity takeoff, which already has a bunch of markups here, right, for items that you want to go through. Actually, I think it was field issues was the one here. But as we go through here and we look at some of these items like electrical, as I start placing these in the specific space, which Matt was saying that are rooms in Revit, and rooms are seen as spaces in review, you can start actually itemizing your data specifically to the space. So you can see, okay, well, what's happening in this space here, right, for those specific items as we go along through here. And let me make, I don't know, a couple of ones over here. Then we can organize by the space for it. Change profiles to maybe review advanced. And go back down to here. And then we can itemize by space. And let's see. Let me minus some of these other ones. Are there any questions as I go through here, Matt?
No, it looks like we're all caught up here.
Okay. So then I can again click space. And okay, so bath 8 has some electrical issues. Great. These are the electrical ones. Oh, living 4 right here, right? So there's living and there's an issue in the living 4 for flooring. And again, we can go through and rename these if you didn't like the naming for them. It defaults to the number 4. And you can also add new ones. And you can even grab a snapshot from the room, which is now a space that's been created. So maybe you want to have a more highlighted area, and there's my snapshot, and there's my new space, right? Or let's say the laundry room, I want to get a little snapshot so I can do some markups for it, right? Let me paste it here. And I can go in and make markups associated to that one.
That's cool. It's like an isolated plan.
Exactly, yep. Okay.
Okay, so how can I spit this out, Michael, to an Excel file or a PDF, or what kind of export capabilities do I have with this list now?
Yeah, so you have some export capabilities of going through and saying a summary report. So right down here in your markups list area, you have this little export. And you could do a couple things. You can do a CSV, which is going to export out to Excel, or you can do a PDF summary. My favorite is the PDF summary, but I also like to append and hyperlink to the back. So we'll go through and do this method, and you can, of course, sort out the data here. I'm already sorting by space. So whatever you have natively set up here for your markups list column organization and filters will default to here. Or you can automatically go through here and just select things that are going to do, or load a configuration of like how things should be exported, how things should be filtered. But I'm just going to click OK. But just a little additional thing, this padding is how much of the outside of that markup that's been made are you going to see. So that's what the padding is down here, and I'll just hit OK. It's going to open up, and I will go through and see what this list has. So we'll skip this first one. This one was just the snapshot. But here's bathroom, here's the EI issue, and what was that? Incomplete switch installation as my punch walkthrough. The reason why I like the hyperlink feature and it appends it to the back is that when I click on this, it'll actually bring me to where it is on my document. So if I have a 100-page set that I just did this huge punch walkthrough out in the field and I placed these little markups that were a representation of my punch list, I can export them out as this this PDF appended, and then I can go and look at this detailed report and simply click on it because I don't have to search through my 100-page set on where this was. It's just going to bring me directly to where it is.
That's awesome. I
Right?
love the little thumbnail too in the image, because you know that thumbnail tells a lot. And if it's not enough, then you just click it and it'll bring you to the plan, which is really cool.
Yeah, and this is the padding. So the padding that I was talking about, 75%. If I go to 100, it's going to add more of the background document. If I add less, it's just going to be the markup. Any questions?
No, it looks like we're still all caught up here.
Great. Okay, so let's go back into sessions here.
Oh, one just came in.
Okay.
Okay, what if it is a reoccurring punch list item, not just found in one place? So if it's a paint touch-up in 80 different places. I think that's how I read it.
Okay, so if there's a markup in multiple areas, it just depends on how you created. I don't know what punch list you created or what type of markup it is, but it's gonna, depending on how you're sorting the data, right? So if there's multiple ones, let's go to here. I think this was in this profile here.
So I think the question is, if you have a paint touch-up icon, you can place that same icon everywhere and it'll have the same notation, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So just like this warped floor, it was used twice, right? But I am organizing by space, so it'll show them in the space that they were at.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, you're welcome,
Good.
Carly. Thank you for the question. Yes.
Great.
All right. Okay, one challenge I had with the report generator is when I attach images to the markup that come in too small to be useful, especially for those that we have to print hard copies.
Yes, I had that same question from a client when I was actually doing a demo. Was, hey, we imported these images or took an image on our iPad and attached it to the markup, right? So if I go through here and I'm out in the field and I'm taking pictures of something that's an issue here, I'm going to change this to my advanced profile here. And I make a markup here and I attach an image. Let's just do a revision cloud here around here. And I took a picture of it. I right clicked, I said, okay, I'm going to edit a capture from file. Let me open my disk here, or you could capture it if you're on your iPad. Let me just go to my pictures here and we'll add this one. And what happens is when you do the export, it's just a little snippet of what it is, right? If I do PDF summary report, append it, it's not that great of resolution. Now, if you want the true resolution of how this image is exported out, you need to do what we call the capture export. So when I go over to here, back to my front side, I need to export that data out from markups list capture, and capture summary is where I want to get my items from. And then you can attach media as a linked file, and you can set the margins if you wanted to. You can also set the padding and exclude any filtered markup. So if I wanted to filter out any of this information, that's how I would run it. Portrait landscape, again, you can mess with all these settings and have a good old time figuring out what works best for you. But that'll show you the actual image here. And then when you click it, and this isn't pixelized because of the PDF, this is pixelized because of the image. I probably should have just picked like my other item. But as you go to here, it's going to open up your default viewer for it. Hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, we can add or elaborate on it a little bit. Okay.
Okay. Looks like we're still caught up, Michael.
Great. So as we go to here, we were talking about projects, storing, creating a dashboard, all of that good stuff. Next would be the studio sessions, which is live collaboration on 2D or 3D PDFs. And yes, again, it's free with any version of Review. That being said, CAD, Standard, or Extreme. And what this allows us to do is collaborate on 2D or 3D PDFs. So as I go through here, I can actually mark up the PDF and collaborate with project partners simultaneously as well. Now, how does this work? What's over here on the left? I don't really understand it. You can tell which PDFs you're in just by looking at the PDF itself. And to the left of it, you'll have the little, it's like an old chalkboard. Matt, do you remember those chalkboards that used to flip and rotate?
I do. I'm that old, yes.
Hey, I remember them. So I don't think it's more of a, I guess, because then what, it changed to the smart boards. I remember the smart
Yeah,
boards.
yeah, it was chalk, and then it was marker, and then it was smart. Yeah.
Then it was the smart board, yeah.
Mhm.
These are the old ones that weren't mounted that used to flip and rotate, so you have two sides. But that's what I kind of reference to. And then that will show you, yes, I'm in a session. That's where this PDF lives. On the left-hand side, you have your attendees list. So you can go through here and you can see who the attendees are. What are your documents? And then this running record report. And again, this is where I said you should be professional with your name, because you don't want to see Batman on the left-hand side here when you're trying to click things and you're like, who was that? Was that Matt? Matt, did you pick Batman, or are you more Marvel, right? And this will be listed. And the great thing about the running record report is you can start clicking on things and it'll show you where those were at, right? So as you started making those markups, it'll bring you to where it was at in the document set. You can also export this record report as well. You can now exclude all chat, but you can't be direct on individual chat persons as you're going through here. Kyle Davis, I saw him post a little earlier. You can now assign or assign someone's original markups to a new person. The way you do that is you have to actually remove the person that was there. And when you get ready to remove the person from this list here, you say deny, and it will prompt you to assign those person's markups to someone else. That's how you assign someone else's markups. But you have to be the owner of the session specifically to do that.
Okay, we did have another question come in. Can you explain on how to use filters in Studio?
Yeah, so for those of us, I think it was 19 or 20. I think it was 19 or 20. They updated the way you can use filters. So if you're in 18, and I don't know which version it was, 19 or 20, that they added this multi-filter list, because it used to just be this, and then you'd have the funnels next to the columns. Now you can use the same filtered list, and you can actually save them. So as you click it, you have the ability to see saved filters. I don't have any filters, so I can go through here and say, actually, I only want to see ones that have submittal status. And then again, I can go through here and save this filter as like submittals or something. And I can always go through and re-click him. And what filters does is it doesn't hide the old markups. It actually just grays the ones out that aren't falling into the filter that you've created down here.
Could you show again, it went really fast, on how you isolated the submittal status versus the other columns?
Yes,
on the filter?
So, yep. And again, the new addition of the filters is it can be multiple columns now. So I just click the top area up here that is orange, and I selected what from that item, which is the subject, could I filter from, like the call out markup or the submittal status markup, which was the stamp, or custom. And I said submittal, I just clicked on it. And then I can go again and add more, right? Maybe it was a specific day, like the past 14 days I only want to see. And it's going to add those filters to here, and I can filter out my data that way.
So then the top big orange button just turns them on, all on or off?
Correct, yep.
Okay. All right, let's see. Can you show how you were able to automatically create spaces on the PDF based on Revit rooms? Are there any settings in Revit that we should set up in order to correctly understand the boundaries?
Nope, it's just going to pull the data that are rooms, and you just need this setting down here, which is export rooms to spaces. You can also, and I didn't say this before, but even when you're in rooms, you can create area measurements, and this could already have the area measurement set up for your rooms as export to. If you needed that data in your markups list to like do an itemized count for flooring or something, who knows?
Okay.
Anything else, Matt?
Looks like we're all caught up.
Great.
Oh, nope, one just popped in. Great, thank you. Can you share the link to download the Bluebeam add-in?
So it should automatically add in when you download Bluebeam Review, and you have Review CAD or Extreme gives you the plugin capabilities. And then if you don't see it, you should go up here to Review, Admin, and you should see my admin screen here. Where did it go? There it is. You guys see this, right?
Yes, yep, we do.
This floating thing. And then you'll see your add-in, right? I don't have my Revit 21 again. I have to uninstall Revit and reinstall it for 2021 for me to see it. That's why I didn't open 2021, but 2020 is here. And this will allow you to select the plugin capabilities for it.
Okay, so if it's a new version of Revit, you'll have to uninstall and reinstall Review or Revit?
Revit if you don't see it here.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, now it looks like we're all caught up.
Okay, great. Covering sessions and again going through it and talking about how it could be utilized. You could follow attendees as well, so you don't need to be in a Zoom session right here. So like Matt and I are collaborating on this PDF. He doesn't need to be in a Zoom session with me. You can always just right click and follow an attendee, and it'll actually trace around as they're kind of going through it as well. I actually have, let me leave this session here. I actually have my iPad that I can go along and kind of show you all how it would work if I had my iPad. I'm out in the field, right? You'll see Joe demo. Not now, okay. Hopefully it lets me go. It just, I guess there's an update for the iOS app. I'm gonna log in. You'll see Joe logging in. Joe's out in the field looking at PDFs. He's getting ready to make some markups. Who knows what he's doing. I guess we could chat with him and ask him. He might tell us to leave us alone. But as I right click on him, I can say follow attendee. And what's happening, if you guys can see my iPad, as I'm scrolling in and out, you're gonna look at my iPad and the screen. As I'm scrolling in and out or zooming in and out, it's going to follow and do the same exact thing that's happening on the iPad as he's moving around. So he's out in the field. He's gonna go and make a markup up here at the top right, wherever he can find room, I guess. Yeah, right here. He's going to go make a markup. You know, he's seeing something issued out in the field. He's also going to create a capture from it. We'll say, Matt, say cheese, cheese. There's the picture. And then we'll go right here and we'll use this photo. And just like that, I've watched Matt, or Joe, sorry, out in the field, and he's created a picture from his iPad and attached it to the comment.
Super
Said she's
cool.
a little late, Matt, but.
All right, we did have another one pop in real quick.
Okay.
What is the difference between studio session and project?
Yes, so again, Studio Sessions is live collaboration on 2D and 3D PDF, and Studio Projects is like a FTP site where you can have unlimited storage for any file type. And before we head off, I'll be able to stay a couple extra minutes. I don't know if Matt is.
Sure.
Hopefully we see you next week with some more questions. We'll bring the civil question back up for Jason Artley, who's our Bluebeam certified instructor on the civil side. I'm Bluebeam certified instructor on the AEC side. And hopefully we can answer your questions there. Feel free to join next week. Again, we'll be here to answer any questions or just drop in and say hi. And Matt will probably maybe be in attendance, but he won't be a panelist. He was able to jump in and help assist me today with answering questions. And Kyle, if you're still here, thank you for answering questions throughout the chat. And it doesn't look like he's in, so he dropped out. But again, we'll give a couple more minutes. So if you have any more questions as we go along, I'll stay about 5 minutes extra for any questions. But if not, thanks for attending and coming in and talking with us about review or just saying hi.
Yeah, thank you for your time. It was good seeing some people, some names that I recognized.
No questions. Okay, we'll give a couple more minutes. We could talk about coffee, or do you have a question, Matt, from an industry standpoint, what do you think is beneficial that you didn't know about review when you were in the industry in terms of practicing?
In the industry, I used Bluebeam Studio as a Adobe PDF on steroids. It had the little icons that looked like a door or looked like an electrical outlet. You know, it was basically a method for me to review submittals, shop drawings, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, I pretty much hung out in this tab. That little toolbox is all I knew. So, you know, collaborating with Michael and Jason, I've learned that Bluebeam Sessions does so much more than just a better Adobe Acrobat.
Yeah, so review has a lot more to offer when you start peeling back the layers and kind of going more in depth of what it can do for you, right?
Okay, Ricardo, again, hey Ricardo. Any future Microsoft Teams collaboration with Bluebeam?
I do not know the roadmap for Teams yet, but when we know, you'll be sure to see some kind of blog posted about it, about what roadmap or what's happening, when we're able to announce it as well. Thanks everyone for joining again today. Samuel, I saw. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat for next week. We will kick it off probably with talking about sets, maybe overlay pages. For those of us that didn't know, you can overlay 2 pages to see the discrepancies between both of them, or maybe just to see if revisions were made or weren't.
Yeah, overlay is a good one.
Yeah. And it's something that some people didn't know that review had that capability, right?
Right, and I could make all of one blue and all of one red, right? So I could easily find the discrepancies between, or what was moved from iteration 1 to iteration 2.
Exactly, because maybe you didn't know, or you're checking. Maybe you sent some red lines for someone to make some changes, and they're like, yeah, I made the changes, but they missed something, right? This could help you look for those changes as well.
Right. Great for consultants following architects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
What wall did the architect move? You know, what door? Did a toilet move? Those will easily pop out to the engineer. You can find, you know, where you need to update your stuff.
Yep. Or taking live measurements, right? Because Bluebeam Review also offers that if you're trying to get accurate dimensions from a PDF set. No more questions.
Okay. I think we
finished up for today.
Yeah, looks like we covered everything. Thank
you,
everyone.
A lot of questions today. They were good.
Yeah.
I got stumped on one of them, so it was Stump the Teacher Day today.
Can't know it all, but you know most of it.
Some of it. Okay, so just a review, we had some blocking tool sets for those items that are placed on the server. David asks about the tool set, which was that item, and then skip the trial for Ed. And any other questions you have for next week, feel free to join in a little early if you want to just drop in and say hi. Or if you do have a question or review or just want to listen in and kind of learn other people's workflow as well as they kind of ask questions on things that Bluebeam Review has to offer. And again, it's not just for review, folks. If we want to learn about drawings, we can talk about drawings, or what is studio or enterprise licensing, I guess would be one. What does that look like? Why would I want enterprise licensing structure on my licenses? Do you have any questions, Matt, yourself?
Nope.
No.
Nope. I threw out all my zingers. I really like the punch list and the I totally forgot about the overlay. I would like to see the overlay next week.
Yeah, overlay's great. Or slip sheeting, right? So you can append old ones. Slip sheet new sets, or just document navigation, right? A lot of people don't understand how easy it is to not change documents, but in terms of re-navigate documents, right? If I wanted to go through and move, hey, you know what, this should be before that one, I can simply just drag and drop, or insert pages from a different area, right? I can go here and say, hey, let me insert pages from this file, review. We won't go there, actually. Let me open disk. Maybe I wanted this project to be in there as well. I can insert all of these pages directly into my set here, just like that.
Very cool.
Yes. Well, I think that completes it. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, participants.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining in today. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Jason Arley will be joining us. Matt will probably be more as a participant next time, but thanks, Matt. You were a huge help helping me filter out items and actually add some value to what we have from more of a standpoint of being in the industry yourself, right?
Yeah, thank you. Great content, Michael.
Thank you, Matt. Have a good one, everyone.
See ya.